Hello, everybody, and welcome to Becoming Invincible podcast. I am your host, Talia, and I am so excited to have you here. This podcast is to reframe your mindset, challenge those limiting beliefs that you may have when you're navigating all the situations in your life. And I'm here to give you tools to help you navigate them in such a healthy way and to harness your personal power that we tend to lose along the way. So settle up, get ready, grab a coffee, and get ready for some juice in each episode as I throw you what life has thrown me and we can navigate this shit together. Hey guys, welcome back. I really appreciate you all for tuning in as always, those that have been from the very beginning to those that have even found me later on. I really do appreciate it, and this is like such a blessing and such a beautiful platform to connect with everybody. And I have a lot of ideas where I want to take this platform, so I'm really, really excited. All right, so today I'll be talking on how our past affects us. And we all know that demonized word, and it's called trauma. So before I get into it, I want to just have a bit of a disclaimer to say this episode will be activating. And I feel like a lot of my episodes are actually activating. I probably should do a disclaimer for my whole podcast show. But you get what I mean, what I'm saying. It's going to be activating because I'm going to dive in a little bit on how our past affects us to now and how things can play out. This is a very empowering episode, as most of my episodes are. My podcast show is all about empowering, but I do understand how activating it can really be for people who aren't ready to hear things yet. It doesn't always land when we want it to land because we're just not ready to receive that information. This absolutely comes from love, and it's just a disclaimer so we can all understand. And I'm just wanting to share a bit more awareness around this and trying not to use that word so much because trauma is so demonized and it makes it sound like our past is scary and like, oh my God, I've got trauma. Oh my God, there's something wrong with me. No, this episode is for the people that need to hear and understand that they're not broken, but there's a reason why things happen in our life and why things could be happening and why we do certain things and why I seem to attract the similar people in my life and things like that. So I'll sort of break it down, but keep it pretty basic because you might not know. So it might be very new to all this. So I will try and keep it so brief as possible to help you understand. But that's why I always encourage you to go back and listen, because sometimes when we re-listen to things, or it's like when we watch a movie again, you always pick up something from the movie when you didn't see before. So I always really encourage you guys to do that, whether that's my podcast show or any podcast show. So pretty much, what is it? Sometimes people can say there's big or there's small, right? So some people have big exposure to whatever they've had in their life, and other people have had small exposure. Now, I don't like when people talk about our past and what we've all gone through as big or small. I really find that is quite disempowering because regardless of what we've been through in life, it feels real for us. And for some people, it feels big. And other people might have been through something different that they would deem that's nothing. And again, that is shaming people on what they've actually gone through. And everyone goes through something and is exposed to something in their life, and regardless if it's big or small compared to society or whoever wants to govern that, it's real for them. And I want everyone to really, if not leave with anything, honestly, just leave with this. Whatever people feel in their life, with their emotions, what comes up for them, it's real for them. And we can't talk people out of things like that because that's their experience. And if it was a horrible experience, you need to be open-minded and open-hearted and accept them for that. A lot of the time people say to me, I haven't been through what you've been through, so I can't complain. And I always stop them and be like, wait. No, don't bully yourself like that. because what you've been through is a hard time as well. I hate that we compare ourselves, and it's the same stuff, guys, that come around, right? I hate when people talk about it where it's big and small. There's no such thing. It's whatever's real for you is real for you. And it's going to be completely different to all of us because we all get exposed to different things in our life. So I really wanted to say that firstly. So what is it? So what is exposure? Being exposed is you're witnessing, and this is generally from the age of 0 to 7, because you're in that primal age of being so new, and kids are very impressionable, right? They soak up everything around them. And so in that primal age of 0 to 7 is when we learn our belief systems, like what we say to ourselves, what we actually believe the world is, what we believe who we are, how we see ourselves, and all those sort of things happen at that time. If anyone wants a little bit more of an insight, literally Inside Out #2, that movie, kids movie, literally a beautiful example of belief systems, anxiety and everything like that. It actually educates families so well on how the brain actually works. It's literally through different processes and thought patterns all through our brain, and it's a perfect example, especially it's what the world needs right now as well. So what is exposure basically, or trauma, right? So what is exposure? Exposure is where you've witnessed a moment in your life that has happened, generally in the age gap of 0 to 7, because we're very impressionable at that age, okay? But you can of course experience exposure throughout all of your life. It doesn't matter how old. But when we are so young, we're a lot more impressionable, right? So it's where you've experienced something in your life as generally the perception of when you're young, and you've taken what you've seen, what you've experienced as facts, and you then cart that around with you throughout your life, basic terms, okay? So you've had an experience, it's made you feel a certain way, and then you've taken what that feeling was and how that meant for you away with you in life. So a little example, it could be that you walked in on your mum getting changed when you were a kid, and she's like, "Oh my God, get away from me," and she shuts the door because she doesn't want you to see her naked. Now, as a child, you could perceive that as, my mum doesn't even care to acknowledge me, or I don't feel important, or my mum doesn't love me. You could feel abandoned in that moment as a child, okay? Coming from a child's point of view is what I'm talking about, okay? Because in our adult brain, that is like, oh yeah, she wants privacy. Like, why is that even a problem? To a child, it's like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Why is my mum mad at me? You know what I mean? So that's the perception you have. So you take that away thinking that you've done something wrong and your mum is mad at you or doesn't love you. Another experience could be you've experienced a situation of like a loss, in your life, however that is. A loss of someone actually dying, or a loss as in like a breakup in a relationship. And however you've perceived it, like, so it's made you feel all sorts of emotions, right? It hits us all so differently. And whatever you choose to believe of why you broke up, or how it all happened, how someone passed, however they died, whether it was long, whether it was quick, all those sort of things. You then carry that with you based on the perception of yourself. So that's like, so for me, when I lost my dad, a lot of my family were very unkind, and it, like, true colors really came out. And so I had a different perception on everyone, of feeling alone and everyone not giving a shit about him, basically. For me, I took away a perception of how everyone was greedy and not caring and horrible, because that was my reality of it. But in question, if we were to question all my family and everyone involved in that whole scenario, everyone would have a different perception. So it's all about what you experience in your life, and whatever feeling that you had in that experience or that exposure to whatever challenge it was, whatever happened, will then pave the way for how you see things, feel about things, etc. So that is what it is. It's something that's happened in your life and you've taken away the feeling. It's made you feel a certain way and you've not dealt with it generally, because a lot of us come from the generation of you push down your feelings. Being better at feeling has only really happened in the last 10 years, if people jumped on board. Generally speaking, we're in 2025 now, probably the last 5, even maybe 7 years, it's kind of been a bit more bigger. But generally, it's always been around, about getting better at feelings and experiencing and healing ourselves, basically. But not everyone's really been exposed to things, or it's not really been talked about. So it's however you perceive a moment in your life that's happened. But we always say it's generally from that primal age of 0 to 7, because you're very impressionable. It's whatever you took away from that situation, how you seen that situation. It's like when we get into an argument with our partner, however you come across to your partner is not going to be how you think you come across. We perceive things so differently. And this is actually the reason why we do, because we've all experienced a different life, right? And it's about trying to understand the other person. And this is why I'm so big on communication. And everyone knows it, but no one does it. No one gives a shit to actually communicate properly. So this all ties in, okay? Not all size fits all with this, because not one person's experience should negate someone else's. We shouldn't ever be like, oh my God, that's what you're upset about. I've been through this and I am still living here, or I'm still doing the thing. Good on you then. Good on you if that's you. If you said that to someone, good on you. But not everyone is wired that way, and we can't, that's quite ego too. So that's a very ego to say and be like, well, you've only gone through that. Oh my gosh, you have not been around the block, because I've been through hell and back and I'm still walking. You're dismissing other people's feelings. You're trying to make yourself feel better about what's happened for you in your life. And you're also making people feel like shit around you. So that's very from ego. And whoever said that to you, or if you've been the person to say that, don't shame yourself. Don't hold that guilt in, honestly. It happens. It's all part of life, and this is how we grow, right? But there's not one size fits all in oh, I've experienced this and I've experienced that. There is some people that have been exposed to a lot because that was just their life and their journey. And then there's other people that have constantly been exposed to so much. And that's very unfortunate, because you shouldn't have to, but it does happen to people. There's not one size fits all, and it's all about understanding our own experiences. And it's also coming from a side of compassion, because especially when you're in a relationship, if that's romantic or with friends, the more that you can come from compassion and understanding, the better your resolution in your arguments are going to be. The better the resolution you're going to have, or to be able to have that amazing relationship that you want. The better the resolution, so you can have the best friendship that you want. The best connection with your family. However it is, communication is in so many forms, human to human, So there's never one size fits all in this. And there's definitely no shame or guilt, because when we're exposed to things, it's not your fault, okay? I want you guys to know that. Not your fault. So you need to start to release the shame, release the guilt, because whatever you've been exposed to is not your fault. And it sucks, and it's happened. Definitely easier said than done. I completely agree with you. But you can't hold yourself accountable for something that is generally out of your control. And we're not educated enough through our life to understand that it's not our fault, that no, we couldn't have done something different. No, we can't make people love us. If someone's only wired to conditionally love you, then that's on them, because not everyone can actually have unconditional love. And I've definitely found that out in my life. And I definitely will do an episode on the difference between conditional and unconditional love. So how we can move forward from experiencing exposure/trauma. So is becoming aware. Awareness is the first thing. Definitely. So just becoming aware of what you've experienced. Now, I have had a lot of people say to me, I actually can't remember my childhood. Like, I have no recollection. I can't think back more than like before the age of 10, some people. If that's you, that's not no shame at all. But something's happened in that time that traumatized you from a young age. Again, we're putting our vision from not what we have now as an adult, we're putting that and taking it to how a child could perceive something. So you've perceived something as a child, you've been exposed to something, you've felt a feeling inside. We haven't had the education around getting better at feeling that emotion. Because when we carry a lot of burdens in our life from what we've experienced and we don't actually feel through that emotion and we just go, no, I can do it, like stuff it down, it creates more of a problem, and it can create into back pain, shoulder pain. You can have IBS because of unprocessed exposure. It's a lot of our issues in our body are actually linked. I'm not saying that, oh gosh, I have neck pain, oh my God, I need to go revisit something. No, that is definitely not what I'm saying. It has actually been researched that we can actually link gut health and our emotional trauma or baggage, however you want to put it, but our gut health and our emotions are very much linked. So I actually used to be very gluten intolerant. Since working on myself for the last 4 years, I have experienced less. So I don't get sore so much from eating gluten. It still does if I definitely reach a certain way, but I can actually digest a lot of food so much more better. I'm not saying that people who have gut health issues and, have gone to doctors and had such a horrible time with it, it's like, well, all I need to do is heal my stuff somatically. Yes, it could actually really help you 100%, but I'm not negating the fact that people do actually have, Crohn's disease, or they are celiac, or they do have thyroid problems, but a lot of the time, especially these days, I really feel like people get diagnosed on so many things. Like, I cannot count how many times people have said, I am ADHD undiagnosed. And definitely some people are, but we can't all think that either, because for us women in particular, we have a busy brain as a woman. It's literally in our biology because we have to receive so much data. That is actually what we're wired for. And this is why I will continue to have a few episodes on why it's important to understand men and it's important for men to understand women, because we're just so wired so differently. So I really want to create a bit of awareness around that. Anything in life can change your life if you let it. If you let yourself go, yep, I am going to change and I don't want to believe the same shit I've been believing for the last 20 odd years or 10. I want to actually change my life. It's about being open to things too. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Things to help with exposure that you've had in your life is through somatic practices. And what I mean by that is going through a meditation process, a visualization, working with a coach who can take you through processes linked to your actual stories and beliefs that are playing out for you, in particular, working with a psychologist as well. Some people find, it's finding what works for you. Like, it really is. There's not one size fits all. If you are quite religious, go down the religious route. Like, there's no one size fits all anywhere, and it's all about just understanding and going, okay, because there's more to mindset and working on yourself than journaling. Journaling is a very important tool, and it actually can help so many people. But because it's very tedious and you've got to be consistent with it, a lot of people shame it and go, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work for the big things that we've been exposed to in our life, because that's when you need to release it from your body. So this is probably going over your head to some people. So when it's like, what do you mean release from your body? Is that, again, like I said, when you've been exposed to something in your life, you've had a feeling to that moment. Whatever situation happened, you had a feeling with that. And that feeling, because you were a child, generally speaking, you couldn't process that properly. I mean, even when we go through things as an adult, a lot of us can't process things properly, so we shove it down and act like it didn't happen. When really you've shoved it down, being like, yeah, okay, I don't need to work on it, I'm fine. And you think that your life is all good and it's not playing out, when it very much is. Where, how this can play out on things is where you are attracting, so you're in the dating scene and all you're attracting are people who don't value you. All you're attracting are men that want to take advantage of you, men that don't care, they don't want to step up, they're lazy, they don't care about you, they're just along for the ride. Or if you're a man listening, you're attracting women who just don't value you. You're attracting women who just want to manipulate you, aren't very nice, couldn't give a shit, are quite selfish. This is how things play out. And so when we sort of can understand it's all in emotion and it's all in a cycle, then we can go, okay, something is happening here. I want to change it. So then that's when you'll either work with somebody or you'll start to do self-care practices like meditation or try journaling and being consistent. I do have journal prompts for you guys if you do want to have any journal prompts. They're all linked in my Instagram, so you're welcome to have them. So yeah, you need to be consistent with these things. We didn't brush our teeth as a habit right off the bat. We got taught that when we were a kid. Then we just continued that through our life because that habit's already been formed. It's the same when you're incorporating something new, whether you want to read a book, do some journaling, you want to take up singing, whatever it is. You've got to prioritize it and you've got to stay consistent, right? The more you do it. So it's literally the same, because the more you can unpack and be aware of your thinking and your emotions, the more you're able to then reprogram your mind for more positive than negative. So how we can help move forward is when you say you want to do the somatic way, and it's not I've not come across anyone who said that they have had flashbacks of their life, because a lot of the time I know that people don't want to work on themselves because they're scared that they're going to see what happened again. Or if they've blocked themselves and they go, oh gosh, I can't remember what I've experienced in my life. What happens if it's something horrible and that's why I blocked it? And so it doesn't work like that where you see things play out. I haven't met someone yet to tell me, oh my God, I've received flashbacks. Don't get me wrong, I've had flashbacks in my life. I've experienced quite a few flashbacks, but it's nothing scary. And it's not while I've ever worked myself in a process. It's been more, you remember the feeling of absolute devastation or abandonment. You start crying because it's the feeling that's making you cry, because you're finally feeling that emotion that you suppressed as a child because you couldn't cry and let it all out and then be on your way. You then cried, shoved it down and was like, I'm a big girl and I'm just going to keep going, or I'm a big boy, I'm going to keep going. But when you actually feel the emotion and allow yourself to cry, scream, kick things and get it out your body then actually releases. You feel such a release. So if people are scared of somatic stuff, because it can be scary when you don't know what it is where you're generally for me, I normally work with people because you're actually diving into your past. That is scary, especially when you're doing it for the first time. It's really safe to work with someone you trust because they're able to then help you and guide you in that moment. And you're going to need support. Some people, it's really important to have that aftercare and support. So when you're working through it with somebody, you're feeling your emotions, and until you feel complete, you will just know that you can't cry anymore. You don't feel like raging anymore, whatever the emotion is that you need to feel and express. Your body then instantly goes, oh my God, that feels so much better. That is the feeling. And your body just releases. Sometimes it might not even be like that. It might just be like, oh wow, I got that out. I'm good. Your body just instantly releases. And that's how you express and heal those emotions, because then you don't need to feel that anymore. You felt it and it's done. And then you can go about your day and you're all good. So that is a bit of a backstory to somatic, because I think people get scared, because I've even had people come to me and go, I'm scared to be taken through a process. I don't want to see what's happened. And it's it doesn't always work that way. I can't promise you that it's not going to, but I'm only starting to get flashbacks because I believe I've hit that point of working on myself that, I don't know, that's where I'm at, but I haven't actually met anyone who has experienced flashbacks starting their journey. Okay, so that can really help you. But again, like consistency with things like even grounding yourself, like going to the beach, that really grounds me and centers me. Putting your feet on grass, literally being barefoot in grass for like 5 minutes is really soothing. So it doesn't mean that it's going to really heal as such, but it can be healing to just ground you for your day. There's so many things that you can do to help. So once we've released something like that, you're less likely to play out the patterns. So you're less likely to play out people who are going to be manipulative, people who are going to like hurt you, all those sort of things. So I'll give you an example of my life, right, guys? Because you're not alone and this is like a thing. So when I started working on myself and I had a pattern play out in my life, and this is why I have my girls the way I've had my girls, because of a pattern. And this is from what I've exposed to in my life. When I was in my younger years, I was exposed to both parents abandoning me. One abandoned me emotionally and physically, and the other one just emotionally, but they were physically there. So when that happens, as my perception as a child, I felt never good enough. No one loves me. Everyone just leaves. No one sticks around. I feel unsafe constantly. There's no safety. So how that played out in my life is I would attract like all my relationships, because I've said on my podcast show before, like people have cheated. So I attracted people who cheated on me. I attracted people who were disrespectful. I attracted people who wanted to use me, people who aren't in it for the long haul, like all those sort of things, right? And it was a blessing, now in hindsight, but that was my pattern. And so I got used to it and I was like, okay, so now I've broken that, because since working on myself, I have really felt those unprocessed emotions as a child of people abandoning me. So for me, it's a lot of crying because I felt really left and put in the corner and shoved aside. I felt really abandoned, like no one wants to stick around. What is wrong with me? All those sort of things. And so when I've done somatic work, I've had immense crying. And so now I attract more people, like friends and everything, people who like want to support me, people who are around me. They're happier, they chase their dreams, they're a lot more assertive, all those sort of things. Before I met my partner and I was dating, I met some really lovely guys where they just seemed really genuine and nice and kind, and it was good to have like a conversation. It didn't go anywhere, but they just seemed really down to earth. And that's what happens when you work on yourself. You just start to see how things play out and how differently your life is, to how different attracting those people in. Because what I mean by attracting, it's never your fault what has happened, because you didn't ask for it. It just happens, okay? And what I mean by when I say you attract these people is that we're all like a vibration. So for me, I'm very spiritual. We're all act as a vibration. So however you are as a person and however you hold yourself, whether that's in a positive light or a negative light. So if you're someone that's like, I don't really want to go to work, work sucks, fuck my life, you're going to attract more people who are like that as well. But if you're more like, yep, okay, gotta go to work, we're going to do this, today's going to be a good day, I can just feel it, you never know what can happen, possibilities are everywhere sort of thing, you're going to attract more people who want to be around that. And so when you notice, like, it depends on however you operate in a vibration, whether you're like high vibe, like, yeah, like gratitude and all the things, which I do know gratitude can actually be quite triggering for people, because we do grow up to be like, you have to be grateful for this and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so I really want to do an episode on gratitude actually and explain a bit why that could be triggering and things like that. But anyway, so when you sit in like a high vibration of like, yes, like opportunities are endless and everything is happening for a reason. Everything's happening for me. And I love how life is, all those sort of things. And you keep in that high vibe, you're going to attract people who are also on that same frequency. And don't get me wrong, you can have your down days. No one's perfect, but it's from how do you operate from a day to day, or how do you feel about your day majority of the time? It's a good question to ask yourself. Where do you act from in your day? It's literally just about understanding we all go through things in life. It's not any worse than the next person. And when you work on yourself, you do end up having a lot of compassion. It's just part of it because you create such an understanding with yourself that you're like, wow, we're literally just all just doing life the best that we can. And you hold a lot of compassion. So you need to hold that compassion for you and go, you know what? I've been exposed to certain things in my life, but that's okay because it doesn't define me. And no shaming yourself, just going, yep, okay, it's happened. I know what I can do to help this, and then keep moving forward. I just think people lose in the tracks of like what actually is exposure and things like that. I just really wanted to do an episode. It's something that's happened and how you perceive it, and you've had a feeling is what it makes it to be trauma/exposure. And then we just carry that around unaware. And it's just having that understanding and mapping out in your day, like, yeah, how do you move around in your day? How are you acting from? Like, are you more like, okay, like opportunities are endless, like you never know what can happen, like life is good? Or do you operate more from life is shit, I just want to go home, I hate my job, all those sort of things? Because if you do, you can change it. You're the one that can change your life. You're the only one. No one can do it for you but yourself. So if you hate your job, get a new one, get a different one. Find out what could be something that you want to learn. You know, we're always a student in life. I don't believe we ever become the teacher, and life is all about just understanding and learning. So what could you learn differently? What's something different you could learn? Or what kind of job you could get? Like, get a different job because you don't need to be stuck somewhere that you don't want to be. I just really wanted to share all that with you guys and clear the air on what it is, because I just think it's so demonized along with a lot of things in the world these days. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to feel sorry for yourself and have guilt for, honestly. Like, it happens, and it's just being aware and going, okay, I choose better and I want to be better. Just give compassion and love to yourself. Honestly, we don't give that enough to ourselves. And I just think the more that we can, the more better understanding we can be for ourselves. So anyway, guys, I hope that helps. I'll leave it there. I just want to keep it as a basic episode, but I really do hope that helps. But if it doesn't, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to hear what you guys have to say. And I appreciate you guys listening to the podcast because it really helps boost it to reach more people, and whoever needs to hear it, share this episode with someone who might need to hear this message, because you just never know. But I really appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you in the next episode.